Hello, everyone. We are so sorry for the technical difficulties, and we are so happy to have you here today. We welcome you to our virtual event, and we are thrilled that you could join us. We hope you have brought your appetite for sure. We are so excited to also have the opportunity to celebrate our newest White Light collection being debuted at KBIS Virtual. The White Light collection comprises of an array of lighter neutral colors, capturing the movement and drama of natural stone, giving it an unparalleled durability and superlative for which Caesarstone is famous. The White Light consists of 7 colors in total, but also includes 2 new colors, Arabeto, which is white with copper and jade, a flowing beauty with dynamic and veining as shown on screen. It's so beautiful. It has, like I mentioned, the copper and jade with a flowing beauty. Our next new color is a Terra Blanca, misty white and smoky gray that embodies classically graceful timelessness. Both of these new colors will be available in March. Other colors that are part of the White Light collection include Calcutta Maximus, which launched last fall, Empira White, White Attica, Statuario Maximus, and Vivid White. Today, you'll experience one of our newest colors, Empira White, as the backdrop for today's cooking demonstration. So, without further ado, with us today is one of Caesarstone's dearest partners, FeedFeed co-founder, Julie Resnick. The FeedFeed is the world's largest native social media platform dedicated to food, obviously, reaching over 30 million unique people each month. The FeedFeed community and editorial team develop some of the most creative, engaging, and not to mention mouth-watering content across social media and the web. This makes FeedFeed the source for what to cook, bake, eat, and drink. Today, Julie will be walking us through a delicious recipe for lobster mac and cheese with toasted breadcrumbs. On that note, I will turn it to Julie. Let's get cooking.
Thanks so much, Maria. So I'm Julie Resnick, co-founder of the FeedFeed, and I'm so happy to be here today with our friends Caesarstone US. We have had their countertops in our spaces here. I'm coming to you from my home in Los Angeles. We also have Caesarstone products at our Los Angeles studio as well as in our Brooklyn. This is the Empira White that I have everything displayed for this lobster mac and cheese that we're going to be making today. This is a recipe that we made for Caesarstone last year, and it's become such a favorite of our community. We love seeing when people are making this at home. The reason we selected it for today is to watch me make a bechamel sauce. So that's actually the sauce that's used in this lobster mac and cheese. So I'll start that in a couple of minutes. As you can see here, as we go over all the ingredients, I have everything prepped and ready to go. But I also just wanted to point out the beautiful white surface. Look at the nice contrast of the lobster and this pan that I'm going to be baking the mac and cheese in. A lot of people say, oh, you have a white countertop. What happens if something spills on it? Does it stain? That is what's so amazing about this particular product. It's so durable. You can spill red wine on it, clean it right up, no problem. It does not stain. And, especially right now, I've been, wiping ours down every time the kids come back or put a water bottle on the counter from, maybe they were out at tennis, just caring about keeping our surfaces clean. I really appreciate how durable this surface is. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Let me just talk you through what I have here. So I already have my pasta. It's cooked a little bit undercooked because we're going to be baking it. I've already toasted the breadcrumbs. So here what I did is I took a little bit of butter, I put it in the pan and I melted it. And then I added some garlic and the breadcrumbs, salt and pepper. And then I just finished it off with a little bit of lemon zest. That really brings out some nice brightness, and there's a nice contrast of flavor there, because we're going to be adding those to the top of the mac and cheese. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this butter, and I'm just going to put it into my saucepan, and I'm going to be adding these yellow onions that I already diced up right before we got going here. And thanks again for your patience as we had a little bit of technical difficulty earlier. I don't think it would be 2020 or 2021 without starting a live event without some kind of technical difficulty. So I'm just going to put the onions in the pan as the butter is just finishing melting. And I'm going to turn that up. We're just going to sweat those onions. That means we're just going to cook them until they get translucent. Just takes a couple of minutes. I'm working here on an induction cooktop, which I really like because it comes up to temperature very quickly, and you can really control the heat, the amount of heat that you've got going. All here. Okay. So like I said, we're going to be making a bechamel sauce. That's one of the classic French mother sauces. And we'll just start out by, like I said, melting this butter, getting these onions going. I'm going to add in a little bit of garlic that I already have ready to go here. I'm going to save these chives, put them down right on my clean countertop. How pretty that looks. Okay. Some garlic in there. And if you didn't want to use lobster, you couldn't find lobster, you could make this recipe with shrimp. You could omit it. It's a perfect, the recipe just calls for adding the lobster in at the end. Obviously, we've got Valentine's Day around the corner, so, you know, if you wanted to make a special dish, you could do this at home for Valentine's Day. That's smelling really nice. These onions are cooking nicely. Just gonna turn that up a little bit. Okay. So as that's going, just keep these breadcrumbs toasting up. And your oven should be preheated at this point if you're going to be cooking this right after you finish on the stovetop. You want to have your oven preheated to 375 Fahrenheit. Okay. So now I said we're going to be making a blonde roux. So I don't know if everyone knows what a roux is, but basically you've taken melted butter and your aromatics, which are, in this case, the onion and the garlic, and then you're adding in a little bit of flour. I have about half a cup of flour here. I'm just going to let this cook for a couple more seconds as I want these onions a little bit more translucent. And let's talk about the cheese while we're waiting for that. So we actually have 3 kinds of cheese. We have Parmesan, white cheddar, and Gruyere. So I grated those beforehand. And here I do have 4 cups of milk. So we're going to need that. We're going to be whisking that in slowly right after we've made the roux in here. And we have a couple of other ingredients I should point out. We've got sherry vinegar. We're just going to put about a teaspoon of that in, salt and pepper, and just a little bit of nutmeg that I already grated here. Okay, so these are looking great. I'm going to add in the flour. And so we don't want this flour to get too brown. We're actually just making a light color blonde roux today. You can actually smell it. That's one of the ways you know that your roux is coming along. You can start to smell the flour as it cooks. And it almost gets like a nutty smell. So if it still smells more like flour or almost like a glue, you're not there yet. So you've got to keep going until you can start smelling a nutty flavor. So let's see. Probably a couple more minutes here. When we get to the Q&A, don't forget to ask me some questions at the end. I don't know if any of you who are watching this have ever made a bechamel sauce, but I'd love to hear how your experience has been or what you've been cooking during this time that we've spent so much time at home. I've been cooking dinner pretty much every night, and I don't know about you, but I'm getting really sick of doing the dishes. Luckily, my kids are old enough that they're able to help out from time to time, but that's the one downside of cooking every night, is all those dishes. Okay. This is smelling really good here. Okay. So I'm just going to keep moving along. Put this off to the side because I'm going to switch over from a wooden spoon to a whisk as I'm making the bechamel. So we're going to take our milk. Just a little. I've got it at probably medium-high heat here. So we're going to be whisking constantly as we slowly pour the milk into our pan. And we want this to thicken up. That's how it becomes a sauce with that flour incorporated in. Smelling really nice. Let's get this incorporated. Now this might take a little bit longer if you're doing this on a gas stove. Again, I have this induction, so I'm really able to control. You can see it's quite thick already. I'm even going to turn the temperature down. I'm going to keep incorporating this in. But on a gas stove, this might take a little bit longer. See how thick that is? And it smells really good too. In France, they often use shallots in this. So in culinary school, whenever we would make the sauce, we would have shallots instead of onions. But not everyone has access to shallots, and they're a little bit more expensive, so we wanted to make this recipe accessible for everyone who wants to make it. And again, you know, if you don't want to spend the money on the lobster, you could use shrimp or just a classic mac and cheese. So here we go. I'm going to have incorporated all of the milk in. And the next thing I'm going to do, as this is just coming up to close to a simmer, is I'm going to, it's nice and thick. I'll show you a trick in a second, how to test if the sauce is thick enough. My spoon here. So we just come up a little bit more. So the next thing that we're going to do is add a few of the spices in. So we'll add in that nutmeg, grate some pepper in here. Now, some people actually don't like to use nutmeg, and that's fine. And other people would like to use a white pepper in here because they want their bechamel to be purely white. I don't mind a little bit of the black pepper. Okay, it's thickening up nicely. I can feel the thickened sauce, especially on the bottom of the pan. So that's why I need to constantly be moving my wrist, because we don't want it to get stuck on the bottom or burn. Good. Okay. But yeah, you can feel the weight of the thickened sauce in your whisk. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to test if your sauce is ready. So we've got a spoon here. We're just going to take our finger and go like this. So see how my finger actually, the sauce did not come back over. If it was too thin, the sauce would have just come back over. So that line that was able to stay on the spoon, that shows that your sauce is ready. So here, you can see it's nice and creamy. I'm just gonna reduce the heat all the way down, turn it off, put that spoon there, and that's when we start incorporating in the cheese. So we've got the cheddar going in, the Gruyere, and you know, if you don't like Gruyere, use cheddar, use all cheddar. If you don't like cheddar, use all Gruyere. If that's all they have, I mean, sometimes we're ordering online these days a lot more than we usually do, and so if Instacart brings you all Gruyere, no big deal. It's gonna taste delicious. I think that's what's really important these days when you're cooking is to not be so tied to the recipe. Here we go, look. So the heat is off, but look at that beautiful cheese sauce. Perfect. Okay, so you'll notice that I already had the pasta ready to go. So what I'm gonna do is bring some of the pasta in here and mix it together. Actually, you know what? I'm gonna do it the other way around. Sorry about that. So look at how beautiful that sauce is. Okay.
Julie, I can actually smell this from Charlotte, North Carolina. I can smell it.
Hope someday we will be able to get together and enjoy this together, Maria. That would be awesome. So look at that.
I hope.
Beautiful bechamel mixed in with the cheese. Add the last of it here, get every last bit. And I already cooked the lobster, so I'm gonna sit. I won't show you what I'm gonna do there, but I'll just tell you. And this picture is on our website, thefeedfeed.com. You'll see that it's a sponsored recipe by our friends over at Caesarstone, and off the side. You can either mix the lobster directly into the mac and cheese, or you can just put it right on top and then put the breadcrumbs on top of it. So before we got started, I already buttered this pan. And so because some of my kids like lobster and some of them don't, I am not going to mix the lobster in. I'm just gonna put the lobster claws and lobster tail after I chop them into little bite-sized pieces on the top. And then I'm going to cover it with toasted breadcrumbs. So this basically goes right into here. So it smells so good. I like
absolutely
delicious. Add a little more pepper. So I think I'll finish this off after we complete the live broadcast, and I'm gonna bake it in the oven, really just for about 10 minutes if it's still warm. It doesn't need that much time, and you've already toasted the breadcrumbs. So you're just kind of incorporating it all together, bringing it up to a little bit higher temperature, toasting those breadcrumbs a little bit more. But look,
and Julie, I have to add that dish looks beautiful on Empira White. It looks stunning.
Both of those look great. Exactly. So, I mean, Empira White, like I said, we have it here at our home. We have it at FeedFeed Los Angeles. It's beautiful. I mean, we make a lot of cheese boards at our house, and you know, it's so beautiful. Fresh fruit. Actually, I took a photo of a blood orange and passion fruit margarita that I made, and I sent it to my friend the other week. I mean, that was just stunning on the Empira White. So citrus looks great, and you don't have to worry. Like I said, you don't have to worry about any staining. It cleans right up very nicely. So probably the last thing that I'll do here with the mac and cheese is add some chives. So you see I reserved half. I'm gonna put the lobster on one half, and I'm just using my kitchen shears for this. I just went outside before and picked some chives from the garden. There we go. And again, yeah, so here's the lobster. I actually just got it ready, pulling the claw off. putting a little meat right on the top, like that, just so.
Delicious.
Awesome. So I know I'm going to be sticking around for a couple of minutes. I hope you enjoyed the demo. Thanks for watching. Definitely check out this amazing white collection from Caesarstone, and I'll see you next time. Put this in the sink.
All right, Julie, it's time for the Q&A. Are you ready? We have some great questions lined up. All right, so I think we're just waiting for our first question to appear on screen. Wonderful. Okay, Julie, so Ev Levin is wondering if you've ever substituted non-dairy or non-soy cheeses.
So a lot of the recipes that we do are vegan-based or non-dairy. And actually one of my favorite mac and cheeses that is made with a cashew base. So it's made with a cashew cream and butternut squash, and it's really delicious. That recipe can be found on our website. But yeah, I mean, you can use a lot of the sugar-free, unsweetened nut milks. So really whatever brand you prefer or type. So you could use an almond milk, you can use a cashew milk, and then you can use any of the vegan cheeses, or you can make your own, which I would recommend a cashew base sauce. So with basically what you do is you take raw cashews and you put them in warm water, and they kind of plumpen up, and then you strain them out. Some people leave that overnight, and then you put it into a blender with some warm water, and it just makes a delicious cashew cheese.
That sounds so yummy. Regardless, I personally love cheese, so I'm more of this route, but that sounds like an awesome alternative. Yep. Okay, our next question, Julie. What is your favorite go-to meal, and what is your favorite go-to meal for your family?
They probably go hand in hand. Luckily, my kids and Dan and I all love to eat the same things. It really changes based on the season. So in the winter time, and I mean, we're in Los Angeles, so it's not really ever winter like it is back on the East Coast. But during the winter time, we do, I make a lot of like one pot meals. So I would say one of the favorites around here would be chili. So that might be a beef chili or a vegetarian chili. And we do a lot of like veggie bowls, and especially during this time when we're not going out to dinner, and there's not a lot of variety from day to day. One thing that I like to do is and actually it's so beautiful on our countertop, I set everything out. So maybe another go-to would be kind of like a different veggie and beef lettuce cups with little like lettuce wraps. So I'd make rice and then put out a bunch of veggies and avocados, and then let everybody assemble. Like one of my daughters likes tofu, my other daughter and son really love beef, or maybe I would do like a pulled pork, and so then we would make our own. So I'm doing a lot of those these days.
Wonderful. That's awesome. I think I prefer the lettuce wrap as well when I go about any of my meals. So I would fit right into your family. Awesome. So for our next question, I think we have time for one more here. What are the benefits of cooking from home?
Well, the benefits of cooking from home, definitely it's more economical. It's also, it's really rewarding. You get to, basically, I mean, for me, I use it as a way to travel around the world, basically through the flavors that I've introduced to my family. So we might go from like having like a Thai coconut curry one night, but then maybe I make that with chicken, and then I have extra chicken that I didn't use for that. And then the next night, maybe I would make like a chicken parm, or actually last night, my kids really have gotten into buffalo sauce. So we had like buffalo chicken that I actually had thought I would make for the Super Bowl, but I didn't. And yeah, I mean, so I think the benefit of cooking from home is that, you also can introduce, if you have kids in the house, or if you live with someone else, you have a partner, it's something you can kind of play around with and experience together. And as I was talking about earlier, even with like the cheese, it's a creative, it's definitely a creative outlet for me. And so if I don't have all of the ingredients that I want to make something, I improvise. And, I see, and sometimes it tastes a little better than, it did the time before. And sometimes maybe it actually needed that ingredient, but you learn. It's a lot of trial and error. But I really enjoy cooking at home.
Well, Julie, thank you so much for your patience and your expertise. We love you. We love your work. We love the FeedFeed. Just spending the time with you and gaining your knowledge is always great, especially on our Caesarstone surface. So thank you also to all of our viewers and customers who are able to join us. And then I guess we'll just see you at our next live event. Thank you for tuning in.
Thank you.